Hey guys, so today I'm gonna share one of my favorite Indonesian street food recipe, which is Ayam Geprek. Ayam Geprek is fairly new, or it's just recently made famous in Malaysia, but it's absolutely delicious. It's basically chicken that's been marinated with all sorts of spices and deep fried to perfection. It's delicious, it's flavorful, it's crispy, and it's paired up with spicy sambal. My ultimate comfort food. I love fried chicken and I love sambal, so this is something that I can have every day. And it's very, very easy to make. So for the marinade, we'll be using some fresh herbs and spices. I've got Kaffir lime leaves, lemongrass, ginger, turmeric, galangal, garlic, and some candlenuts. And I'll also be adding ground coriander seeds. And to make the skin crispy and crunchy and delicious, I'll be using a little bit of rice flour and potato starch. Super duper easy. First, I'm gonna prepare my spices and herb for the marinade. I'm using 2 stalks of lemongrass. I am going to peel the outer layer that's a bit thick. And the reason why I normally remove the outer layer of the lemongrass is because it's quite fibrous. And for certain dishes like this one, I don't want so much of the lemongrass fiber. But for dishes like rendang, I want the fiber because the fiber is going to give an amazing texture to the gravy or the sauce. But for this one, less is more really. I'm going to do the same with this one. Now when you have all these excess layers that you're not using, what you can do is make lemongrass water or lemongrass tea. You can also make lemongrass syrup, which is absolutely delicious. Add a little bit of pandan, it's super refreshing. Or you can also add these into your rice to add fragrance to it. I love it. Now I'm gonna slice this into little pieces. And I'm going to chuck it into my blender. Now this marinade is also suitable with fish. So if you don't like chicken, you can also try this recipe with fish. It's absolutely delicious. I'm going to add my garlic, my candlenuts, my Kaffir lime leaves. I'm just going to roughly slice them. I'm going to remove the spine, add it into my blender. I've got some ginger. I'm going to roughly slice as well. Some turmeric and some galangal. Throw everything in, and I'm going to add a little bit of water and give this a good blending. Now I am going to prepare my chicken. Over here I've got 4 chicken legs. You can also use other parts of the chicken. It's completely up to you. So I'm just going to score it until I hit the bone. So I'm going to do like about 3 lines and 1 at the back. And I'm going to do the same with the rest of the chicken. So now I'm ready to marinate my chicken. First, I'm going to season them with a little bit of salt. Just want to make sure that it's properly seasoned because I didn't put any salt in my marinade earlier. I'm just going to rub the chicken so it can absorb all the salt. Now I'm going to add my ground coriander seeds. Same thing, just want to rub it everywhere. And now I'm going to add the marinade that I blended earlier. And same thing, you just want to rub your chicken. You want them to absorb all the beautiful herbs and spices. Oof, smells so good already. And I'm going to add my rice flour and potato starch. These will give a very nice, light yet crispy coating to the fried chicken. So I'm just going to let these marinate for at least 30 minutes to 3 hours and then deep fry them. So while we wait for the chicken to be ready, I am going to make the sambal. And this sambal is so delicious and super spicy and is typically served with other dishes like ayam penyet, soto, and a lot more. I sometimes just have this sambal with rice and fried egg, and it is absolutely sedap gila. So I'm going to start by cutting my chillies. You can remove the seeds or you don't have to, it's completely up to you. I don't normally remove the seeds. And if you don't like it too spicy, you can always cut down on the bird's eye chili. Now my bird's eye chili, I'm just gonna slice them into halves. So you would want to cut everything around the same size so that they'll cook evenly. So I want my shallots to be around this size. So the big ones, I'm going to halve them. I'm going to cut my tomatoes into wedges. And I'm going to heat some oil in my wok. I'm using a regular vegetable oil. So my oil is hot, I'm just going to add everything in. So you want to cook it until everything is soft and sort of blistered, but you don't want them burned. Chilies. My tomatoes. And my shallots. So you want to stir them constantly so nothing burns. So now this is done. Everything is nice and soft and smells so good, although it made me sneeze a few times. But you know, when you sneeze while making your sambal, that means that your sambal is going to taste so good. So I'm going to put some now in my pestle and mortar. Do this a little at a time because my pestle and mortar is super tiny. So I'm just going to pound this until I get a nice smooth consistency. But if you want to leave it chunky, you can as well. Maybe I'll leave out some chunks of chilies. So now this is done. Okay, this is the texture that I'm looking for. Still have a little bit of chunks there. You don't want it too fine, so that's why I prefer doing it with pestle and mortar than putting it in a food processor. But if you don't have a pestle and mortar, you can always use your food processor or your blender. It's completely fine. So now I'm just going to transfer this to a bowl and finish the rest. So now I am going to refry the sambal. So you don't have to, because some people don't. You can just add some sugar, some salt, the dried shrimp paste, and some calamansi juice. But I'm gonna refry it so that the sugar will sort of caramelize the sambal and it's gonna taste even better. So I'm just gonna use the same wok with the leftover oil inside. So now I'm gonna add the sambal just now. You can add a little bit more oil, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to add my shrimp paste. I'm going to add some sugar now. About 3 tablespoons. And of course, some salt. And once it's done, I'm going to squeeze some of the calamansi juice. So now I'm ready to fry my chicken. It smells so good. I cannot wait to try this with the sambal. Oof! Just gonna gently pop it in the hot oil. Just gonna do 2 at a time because I don't want to overcrowd my pot. So it's gonna take about 8 to 10 minutes to fry, and you don't want to touch it too many times. Once it looks a little bit brownish, golden in color, you can flip it and just let it fry until it's cooked. So my chicken's cooked, and now I'm ready to plate it. You can cut your chicken or serve it whole like this. Look at that. Can you hear how crunchy the skin is? Love it. Normally for Ayam Geprek, the sambal would be placed on top of the chicken, but today I'm going to serve it on the side because I don't want the skin to be soggy. I serve it with a generous amount of sambal ole that we just made. You can sprinkle some chopped coriander if you like, or just serve it like this. I love having my Ayam Geprek with some hot steamed rice, some deep fried tempeh, and some fresh vegetables. I hope you'll try this recipe, and when you do, make sure you share your pictures and videos with me. Jemput makan guys!